Hey guys, it's J1Aldi here with my first ever Splatoon 2 video, and today we are going to be talking about the new patch, 5.4.0 patch notes. It's going to be some comparison shots and my thoughts, so if you like what you see, hit that subscribe button, and let's get right into it. Before we get started, I just want to show you the gear that I'm wearing. The abilities on this gear don't have any effect on the weapon itself, but I still kind of tried to look fresh, so just a disclaimer there. Okay, so first up we have the Splatter Shot and all of its variants, including the T-Tech, Kenza Splatter Shot, Octo Shot Replica, and the Hero Shot Replica. The notes indicate that it increased the likelihood the turf around your feet will be inked when firing. Pretty self-explanatory. It means that when you press CR to fire your main weapon, there will be more paint around your feet. So on the left we have pre-patch 5.3.1, and as you can see, it doesn't really paint well around your feet. Moving on to the new patch, however, there is immediately a large pool of ink around my character's feet. This is a side-by-side comparison of what it looks like to kind of strafe while firing the weapon. Yes, I'm using stick controls, but it's solely for the sake of the comparison. Next is the 52 gal and all of its variants. We've got the Gal Deco and the Kenza 52 gal. The notes say that it increased the radius of ink that lands when you shoot far away by roughly 27%. So even though it's a pretty big buff, I, however, don't think it's going to change the viability of the weapon, purely because the kits of each weapon are not very strong. So even though it paints better, again, I don't really see this weapon becoming more popular in the Western competitive scene. I think if you're going to see an increase in the weapon being used, it's definitely going to be from the Kenza variant with the Splash Ball and Booyah Bomb. But again, this weapon already does a good job of what it does, so the buff to me isn't a significant change. Again, as a reminder, for the sake of demonstration, I'm not using any MPU, so what you're seeing is the most quote-unquote natural form of RNG on the 52 gal. Next up, we have the Dapple and Splat Dualies. They both got the same buff in which it decreased the ink consumption from shots fired by roughly 5%, which basically means it kind of got a bigger ink tank, so you can shoot for longer. So the first clip is going to be of the Dapple Dualies doing just a normal fire and then going into turret mode, and then immediately following will be the Splat Dualie variation doing the exact same thing. Next up, we have the H3 nozzle nose. You see the cherry and the vanilla variant right there, followed by the more popular H3 nozzle nose D. They increase the ink consumption by roughly 25%. I think that's pretty huge, and you will definitely see it in this next clip. So pre-patch, I was able to get 19 to 20 shots. Post-patch, I could barely get 15, so the math checks out. The next weapon class that got a nerf was the Squeezer, in which they increased the ink consumption while holding down ZR by about 20%. So that doesn't include the longer range tap shots that you're about to see in the next clip. It's only when you're holding down ZR. That being said, because the weapon is mid-range, you want to get your splats by using the longer ranged tap shots, and because the depletion rate isn't changed at that range, it won't make a huge difference. It's not a weapon that's designed for painting, so if you are using it for that purpose, maybe consider switching to an NZAP or a Junior. Last but not least is the Dualie Squelchers. They increase the shot speed when firing immediately after jumping in a normal stance by roughly 25%. However, this does not affect the shot spread after a dodge roll. What you're looking at right here is an example of the dodge roll. This is not getting affected. As you can see, the end of the ink trail is pretty consistently thin. However, when I am in normal standing position and I jump, you can notice the shot spreading out a little more. That's what they're talking about in this patch. What you're looking at right now is pre-patch, so you can still notice there's a little bit of spread, but it's not as bad as what you're about to see in this next clip. It almost looks like a completely different paint trail. The spread is so significantly different that I honestly think it's going to affect a lot of Dually Squelcher players for sure. Finally, the special gauge changes. You can see the buffs with the Splattersock Jr. and the Ken's Undercover Brella, followed by a bunch of Charger nerfs as well as a nerf for the custom Dually Squelchers. So with the fire spread change and the special nerf, I think it's safe to say that Dually Squelchers got hit pretty hard and that people that play this weapon are definitely going to have to adjust and adapt to these new changes. So a recap on some of my thoughts. I definitely don't think we're going to see a rise in the use of dualies or splatter shots or 52 gals. Again, unless it's the Kenza 52 variant. I just don't think those buffs are enough to justify using them in game. Just my opinion, but you never know. I definitely think people are gonna try the K52 out and see if it works well with their comps. And also, splatter shots are still very popular weapons. A buff for paint around your feet is not gonna incentivize a mid-range player to switch to something like a T-Tech. I will say, however, I do feel as though H3 players might just bite the bullet and switch to something like an NZAP or a Junior, something that is just able to spam armor with peak efficiency like those weapons can. Finally, I don't think this is the end of the Dually Squelchers. I think people are going to learn the flaws of the weapon and adapt like they always have because it's still so powerful against those shorter range weapons. But that's it from me. Leave a comment with your thoughts on the patch. If you'd like the video, please subscribe. It'll really help my channel grow since I literally just started. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.